So if you spend any time, really looking at modern e-commerce, you probably realize that the industry has basically hit a massive wall.
Oh, absolutely. A huge wall when it comes to customer acquisition.
Right. Because brands are pouring, just millions of dollars into conversion rate optimization and heat mapping.
Yeah, they're A/B testing every single pixel.
Exactly. Every pixel of their storefronts. And they're fighting for this tiny sliver of attention on traditional search engines that are, let's be honest, increasingly bloated with sponsored ads and SEO spam.
It's exhausting for the consumer, really.
It is. We have engineered the digital shopping experience to the absolute limit.
And the funny thing is, the friction for the consumer has actually increased despite all that optimization.
Right. You'd think it'd be easier now.
But it's not. When a buyer wants to find a specific product today, they're forced to, open a dozen tabs. They have to sift through conflicting reviews, mentally calculate shipping costs across totally different sites.
Oh, and navigate the endless gauntlet of pop-up discount wheels.
Yes. The spin-to-win wheels just to make a purchase. The cognitive load is, it's entirely on the buyer.
But looking at the source material for today's deep dive, that entire model is fracturing.
It really is breaking apart.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, our mission today is to demystify what's happening. We're looking at a July 2026 advisory document titled Shopify Agentic Commerce, Costs and Comfort When You Need a Dev.
And that document makes one thing glaringly obvious.
Which is that the AI is no longer just sitting behind the counter.
Right.
It used to just help the merchant, write product descriptions or generate email campaigns. But now the AI has jumped over the counter.
It's out there actively buying things on behalf of consumers.
Yeah. We're looking at a fundamental identity crisis in retail. We're shifting from human-driven shopping to machine-driven purchasing.
The paradigm shift here, it really cannot be overstated.
No, it's massive.
For years, tools like Shopify Magic or Sidekick and all those other generative tools, they were merchant-facing. They optimized the seller's workflow.
But agentic commerce is different.
It's the total automation of the consumer. The software is no longer optimizing the store for a human. It's bypassing the human's manual labor entirely.
It's just executing the shopping journey on its own.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this for everyone listening. Because whether you're a store owner or a developer or just someone who is insanely curious about where the internet is heading.
The concept of a bot making purchasing decisions does sound a bit, abstract.
Yeah, a bit sci-fi. So let's walk through the mechanics of what this actually looks like in the real world right now.
Sure. So, consider a routine purchase. Let's say you need a new linen duvet cover.
Okay, standard purchase.
The traditional route involves querying Google, sorting through a bunch of Pinterest boards, dodging those retargeting ads that follow you around.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. And then reading individual store policies. But in an agentic commerce model, you just open your preferred large language model interface.
So like ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or Microsoft Copilot.
Exactly. And you enter a highly specific prompt. You say, find me a high-quality linen duvet cover for under $200, highly rated, in a sage green, and make sure it can ship by Thursday.
So you're basically giving the AI the exact parameters that you would normally just hold in your head while manually clicking through 20 different Shopify stores.
Precisely. You outsource the mental checklist.
Okay, but instead of generating a list of blue hyperlinks for you to click and research manually, what happens?
The AI agent acts autonomously. It pings the inventory databases of multiple stores simultaneously.
Wow. All at once.
Yeah, it cross-references real-time pricing, checks the shipping logistics, aggregates the verified review data, and then it surfaces the actual product for you.
So it's not just a search engine?
No, in many cases, it actually pre-fills the cart, so all you have to do is authenticate the final payment.
So it's like having a digital personal shopper who is just aggressively fast at Googling.
That's a great way to put it.
But, I read the industry keynotes. And I know executives love to inflate these capabilities to boost their quarterly earnings calls.
Oh, of course they do.
Right. So I have to wonder, is anyone really using this yet? Or is this just a polished beta test designed to look like the future?
Well, the skepticism is completely warranted, especially given the hype cycles we've seen lately.
Right.
But the data logged in this advisory document points to a behavioral shift that is already well underway. It's not hypothetical.
Okay, what kind of data are we talking about?
So Adobe's analytics tracking actually found that AI referral traffic to U.S. retail sites grew 12-fold in just the 8 months leading up to February 2025.
Wait, 12-fold?
12 times the traffic, yeah.
12-fold growth in under a year is staggering. Even if you're starting from a small baseline, that means people are actively bypassing the Google search bar and going straight to their AI assistants for product discovery.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is that the platform-specific data reinforces that exact trend.
How so?
Well, at the National Retail Federation conference in early 2026, Harley Finkelstein, Shopify's president, reported a 14 times increase in orders sourced directly from AI agents.
14 times. Over what period?
Over just a 12-month period.
Wow.
Now, he was transparent that the absolute volume of these orders is still, a fraction of overall global e-commerce.
Sure, it's a drop in the bucket comparatively.
Right. However, a 14x growth trajectory indicates we are moving past the early adopter phase.
Yeah, consumers are realizing that delegating the hunting and gathering to an algorithm just saves them hours of frustration.
It really does.
But if the traffic is migrating from traditional web browsers to AI chat interfaces, that creates a massive technical chasm, doesn't it?
Oh, a huge one.
Because an AI assistant built by OpenAI and a storefront built on Shopify's architecture, they don't inherently know how to communicate.
No, they speak completely different languages by default.
Right. If I ask an AI for that sage green duvet, the AI has to know exactly where to look on a store's back end to confirm the color and the price and the stock.
Yes.
So how are these two completely different ecosystems actually exchanging that data?
Well, they require a standardized protocol, which brings us to the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP.
UCP.
Yeah. This is basically the plumbing that allows a massive language model to understand a highly specific e-commerce catalog.
Without getting confused by the formatting of individual websites.
Exactly.
So UCP is basically the plumbing. You don't have to build the pipes yourself. You just need to make sure your house is connected to the water main.
That is a perfect analogy. UCP functions as a universal translator. When the AI hits a Shopify store, it doesn't have to, parse the visual design or figure out if a random string of numbers is a SKU or a price.
Because the data is handed over in a perfectly structured, standardized package.
That is the core mechanism, and UCP was co-developed by Shopify and Google.
Okay, two heavyweights.
Yeah, but they also brought in major retail players like Target, Etsy, and Wayfair to ensure the standard could handle vast and varied inventories.
Makes sense. You need buy-in from the big catalogs.
Right. They officially launched it in January 2026, and it essentially establishes a common syntax for commerce data globally.
But the most fascinating technical detail in this document isn't just that UCP exists, it's how they released it.
Yes, this is crucial.
Because Toby Litke, Shopify CEO, announced it was open by default, and the entire protocol was published under the Apache 2.0 license.
Which is an open source license.
Right. So why go open source? I mean, why wouldn't Shopify and Google just patent this and charge a toll for every AI platform that wants to read their merchants' data?
Well, the Apache 2.0 license is essentially a strategic defense against walled gardens.
Walled gardens, meaning like closed ecosystems.
Yeah. Look back at the evolution of the mobile internet. Apple and Google gained absolute control over the app stores, which allowed them to dictate terms and extract massive commissions from developers.
Right, the infamous App Store tax.
Exactly. If the infrastructure for AI commerce was proprietary, a single tech giant could theoretically monopolize the entire ecosystem.
And hold everyone hostage.
Yeah. By making UCP open source, any platform, whether that's Meta, Microsoft, or independent AI developers, they can build against it without paying a gatekeeper.
It democratizes the infrastructure. So as a store owner, I don't have to worry about building a specific integration for ChatGPT and then a totally separate one for Gemini.
And another one for whatever new AI model launches next month.
Right. The UCP plumbing handles all of it. And this advisory document notes that for eligible Shopify merchants, this Agentic Storefronts channel is just active by default.
Right inside the admin dashboard.
Under the Sales Channels menu.
You don't have to install a third-party app or write custom API calls to activate it. If your store meets the standard eligibility requirements, you are already broadcasting your inventory to these AI agents through that UCP pipeline.
Okay, so if this infrastructure is open source, democratized, and turned on by default, that brings up the obvious next question.
Following the money.
Exactly. Somebody has to pay for the API calls and the compute power to run these massive AI models. So what is this actually costing the merchant when an AI agent facilitates a sale?
Well, as of July 2026, the cost for a merchant to appear in these AI searches and close a sale through agentic channels is zero extra.
Zero.
You pay absolutely no additional fees beyond your standard credit card payment processing.
Okay, so if a buyer is routed to your store via Copilot or Meta's AI, the transaction costs you the exact same percentage as if they had organically typed your web address into their browser.
That's right, no AI markup.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because that feels like a massive relief, especially considering the sheer panic that ripped through the e-commerce industry earlier this year.
Oh yeah, the great AI tax scare of early 2026.
Right. Anyone tracking this space remembers that.
Eh.
The narrative was that AI platforms were basically going to bleed merchants dry.
And the volatility of that specific narrative perfectly illustrates why you must look at the dates on any claims regarding AI commerce. The landscape shifted violently over a 6-month period.
Let's trace that timeline, because the whiplash was intense.
It really was.
Back in September 2025, Shopify started heavily promoting the idea of seamless in-chat checkout. The vision was that the consumer never even has to visit the merchant's website.
They complete the entire transaction seamlessly within the ChatGPT interface.
Right. Then jump to January 21, 2026. Reports start dropping that merchants were going to be hit with a mandatory 4% fee paid directly to OpenAI for facilitating those in-chat transactions.
And in an industry where retail margins often hover in the single digits, a 4% top-line tax is completely devastating.
It would have effectively wiped out the profitability of thousands of small to medium businesses overnight.
The backlash was immediate and severe.
But then the pivot happens. Less than 2 months later, on March 12, 2026, OpenAI publicly retreats on the instant checkout pilot program.
They realized it lacked flexibility.
And by March 24th, the entire strategy is reworked. They abandon the in-chat transaction model entirely and announce that merchants will just keep their own checkouts.
Right. OpenAI shifts to focus purely on product discovery and referral. They basically hand the buyer off to the merchant's site to actually swipe the credit card.
And with that pivot, the 4% fee just completely vanished. But why? Why would OpenAI walk away from taking a 4% cut of global e-commerce?
Because processing transactions introduces a massive layer of operational friction.
The unglamorous side of retail.
Exactly. If OpenAI acts as the merchant of record to enable that in-chat checkout, they suddenly have to handle PCI compliance, international tax remittance, chargebacks,
Fraud prevention.
and customer service disputes about lost packages. They quickly realized they wanted the behavioral data and the user engagement, but they absolutely did not want the logistical nightmare of being a payment gateway.
That makes a lot of sense. Plus, it was external market pressure, right?
Definitely. The document notes that Amazon was simultaneously running its own Buy For Me AI beta test at a 0% commission.
Right. So the major tech companies are currently engaged in a massive land grab for user adoption.
That's the real game. If OpenAI slapped a 4% tax on merchants, those merchants would simply opt out or block the agents entirely.
And an AI shopping assistant provides zero value to the consumer if it can't access any inventory.
Exactly. The industry standard defaulted to free discovery because securing platform dominance right now is far more valuable than immediate transactional monetization.
That makes total strategic sense. But this brings up a glaring technical contradiction that we really need to resolve for the listener.
Okay, what's that?
Well, for years, the golden rule of e-commerce security has been to block automated bots.
Right, of course.
Merchants spend fortunes on sophisticated software to prevent bots from scraping their proprietary pricing, hoarding limited inventory during flash sales, and spamming their checkouts.
Ticket scalping bots, sneaker bots, yeah.
Exactly. And Shopify's own automatically generated robots.txt files explicitly state, quote, checkouts are for humans.
They do.
So if the entire security apparatus of the platform is designed to block non-human actors, how are these AI agents freely browsing catalogs and pre-filling carts without triggering massive security alarms?
It definitely seems contradictory at first glance, but the confusion stems from failing to differentiate between malicious, unauthenticated scraping scripts and sanctioned, authenticated automation protocols.
Okay, break that down.
The platform's security measures are highly specific about what kind of behavior they block.
So looking at this structurally,
Right.
my store's robots.txt file is essentially the bouncer at a nightclub.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right. The bouncer's primary job is to stand at the door and keep the shady, unsanctioned actors out. If a malicious bot tries to brute force a checkout form or overwhelm the server during a product drop, the bouncer immediately rejects the request.
Right. That is, the checkouts are for humans, rule actively defending the site. But expanding on your analogy, the sanctioned AI agents, the ones utilizing the UCP standard, they're not trying to sneak past the bouncer. They arrive with VIP credentials.
Ah, I see.
When an AI from Google or OpenAI approaches the store, it presents an authenticated handshake. The Shopify architecture recognizes the agent as a legitimate proxy operating under the direct instruction of a human buyer.
So the bouncer keeps the chaotic scripts out, but UCP acts as the VIP pass that just waves the sanctioned AI agents right through to the inventory.
Exactly. The security infrastructure is not inherently anti-bot. It is strictly anti-unauthorized bot.
That's a huge distinction.
It is. Because the sanctioned agent is utilizing official API endpoints, it can either execute the checkout via secure server-side handshakes or securely hand the human user over to a pre-populated checkout screen to finalize the payment.
Completely bypassing the anti-spam triggers that are looking for, clumsy automated browser clicking. Okay, so understanding that they have a VIP pass is great, but as a store owner, how do I ensure my VIP section is actually set up for them? I assume the AI isn't reading my beautiful lifestyle photography.
No, it doesn't care about your photos. The agents rely on 3 foundational pillars to understand your products.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, structured data. This is the machine-readable schema markup embedded in your code. It explicitly defines the attributes of a product, categorizing the price, the material, the stock status, and the variations in a format the AI can instantly parse.
Right, the raw data. And the second?
Second is comprehensive product information. An AI cannot infer details. If your titles are vague and you lack detailed specifications, the algorithm will just bypass you for a competitor with richer data.
Makes sense. And the third pillar?
Third, you must ensure your robots.txt configuration isn't accidentally blocking those sanctioned user agents from crawling your site.
And verifying all of that sounds like a headache.
It can be.
But the source document highlights that Shopify actually released a free tool for this. The Product Page Agentic Commerce Audit Tool.
Yes, highly recommend using that.
But you just drop your product URL into the tool, and it instantly runs a diagnostic to confirm if your structured data is readable and if your server is properly authorizing those VIP agents.
The audit tool removes all the technical ambiguity. It provides immediate binary feedback on your visibility.
Pass or fail.
Right. And the results of that audit lead to a critical strategic decision regarding resource allocation, specifically whether you need to hire outside engineering help.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Or rather, the question that could save merchants thousands of dollars. Do you actually need a developer to make your store AI ready?
For the overwhelming majority of standard e-commerce operators, the answer is a definitive no.
That is incredibly rare in tech platform shifts. Usually a major evolution like this requires a massive overhaul and a hefty dev retainer.
Right, everyone wants to sell you a package.
So if I have a standard Shopify store, maybe using one of the native online store 2.0 themes, and my catalog is relatively straightforward, the best thing I can do today is absolutely nothing.
I love that.
Yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the document heavily emphasizes doing the free thing first. If you are operating on a standard architecture, the platform handles the UCP metadata injection automatically.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Your structured data is formatted by the theme, the plumbing is active by default, and your visibility to AI agents is already optimized. Hiring an agency to write custom code would just be a total waste of capital.
But there are always exceptions.
Always.
The document does outline specific scenarios where the automatic path breaks down and a developer is strictly necessary. Let's dig into why those exceptions happen, starting with headless builds.
Okay, so when a brand goes headless using a framework like Hydrogen or Next.js, they are fundamentally decoupling the front-end presentation layer of the website from the Shopify back-end database.
Right, they're building a custom front door. Exactly. Because they have ripped out Shopify's native Liquid templates to build a custom user interface, Shopify can no longer automatically inject the required UCP metadata into the page.
Ah, so the plumbing got disconnected when they built the custom house.
Yes, so a developer has to manually map that structured data into the new front-end code so the AI agents can actually read it.
Okay, that makes sense. The document also flags complex B2B catalogs as a scenario requiring custom dev work. Why does wholesale pricing confuse the AI?
Because B2B architecture relies on gated, customer-specific logic. Wholesale buyers usually have to log into an account to see their heavily discounted pricing tiers.
All right, you don't want the public seeing your wholesale prices.
Exactly. And an AI shopping agent crawling the web does not possess a specific buyer's login cookie or session data. By default, it will only see the public-facing retail price.
So if you want the AI to accurately negotiate or surface specific B2B pricing catalogs through an authenticated API, a dev has to build custom routing logic.
Right, to allow the agent to access those restricted data layers securely.
The same logic probably applies to stores heavily utilizing Shopify markets, right? With deeply complex multi-currency setups or wildly nested product variants.
Absolutely. If you have customized the core machinery of how your data is stored and displayed, the automatic out-of-the-box translation tools just can't read it accurately.
So the overarching rule is that customization creates abstraction, and abstraction breaks automation.
That's a great summary. If you fall into those highly complex categories, you do need engineering support. But, and this is crucial, you must be incredibly specific about the scope of work.
Because tech agencies are currently capitalizing on the panic.
Oh, heavily. They're selling massive, undefined AI readiness retainers.
We see this every cycle. Agencies package up a bunch of buzzwords and charge 30 grand for something the platform does for free.
Exactly. So if you require a developer, the advisory document recommends requesting a strictly scoped agentic visibility audit.
Okay, keep it specific.
You are hiring them to execute 3 finite tasks. Validate your custom structured data schema, ensure your localized catalogs surface the correct pricing via API, and verify your access logs.
It is a targeted diagnostic and repair, not an open-ended strategic overhaul.
Exactly. Don't sign a blank check.
That advice alone justifies reading this document. We've covered the technical integration, the open source plumbing, the lack of fees, and the fact that most people can manage this without writing a line of code. It all sounds incredibly optimistic.
But there is a catch.
Right. Shifting consumer behavior this drastically inherently comes with a cost. What happens to a brand's actual relationship with its customer when the transaction is mediated by an AI?
This is the central strategic trade-off of agentic commerce. When a sale occurs through an AI interface, the brand is essentially renting the audience rather than owning the relationship.
Renting the audience, because the buyer never actually experiences the brand's ecosystem.
Exactly. When a customer visits your URL directly, you control the entire narrative environment. You can deploy pop-ups to capture their email for lifecycle marketing.
You can immerse them in high-end lifestyle photography, communicate your brand's heritage,
and organically cross-sell related items through visual merchandising. But in an agentic transaction, the AI strips away your user interface entirely.
It just extracts the raw data.
Yes, price, specs, availability, and it presents it to the user inside a sterile chat window. The brand is essentially demoted from a curated destination to a mere supplier of inventory.
So what does this all mean? The flip side to that, according to Harley Finkelstein in this document, is that agentic commerce creates a fundamentally merit-based ecosystem.
That is his argument, yes.
His point is that if a user searches for sneakers on a traditional search engine, the first page of results is dominated by massive retailers like Foot Locker, simply because they have a multi-million-dollar SEO budget to game the algorithm.
Right.
But an AI agent ignores the SEO bloat and evaluates the actual product specs to find the best.
Well, you must treat agentic commerce as a highly lucrative but distinctly secondary discovery layer. It is a powerful funnel for acquiring new volume and capturing intent-driven sales that would otherwise go to competitors.
But it shouldn't replace your foundation.
No. The primary objective remains driving direct traffic to a storefront the brand controls, where they can cultivate loyalty and extract lifetime value. Let the AI agents scrape your perfectly structured data for the quick conversions, but reserve your true brand building for your native environment.
That distinction between the discovery funnel and the core brand asset makes perfect sense. Let's just lock in the rapid-fire takeaways from this deep dive for everyone.
Sounds good.
First, the automation of the consumer is already happening. That 14x growth in agent-sourced orders proves AI shopping is a current reality, not a future hypothetical.
Right.
Second, the Universal Commerce Protocol, or UCP, is the open-source plumbing making this possible. And it's specifically designed to prevent massive tech monopolies from controlling the transaction layer.
Crucial point.
Third, the terrifying 4% AI tax is a total myth. As of July 2026, enabling AI discovery costs you nothing beyond standard processing fees because tech giants are prioritizing platform adoption right now.
Over immediate monetization, yeah.
Fourth, These sanctioned AI agents utilize authenticated BIP handshakes, meaning your standard anti-bot security protocols won't mistakenly block them.
The bouncer knows who they are.
Exactly. And finally, unless you are running a headless architecture or complex B2B logic, your standard storefront is likely already configured for visibility, meaning you don't need to waste capital on expensive developer retainers.
Those are the operational realities merchants need to navigate today. But taking a step back from the technical implementation, this shift forces a much deeper existential question for the future of retail.
Right.
We have spent the last decade perfecting the art of emotional e-commerce, using storytelling, aesthetics, and community to convince human beings to pay a premium for a brand rather than just buying a commodity.
The entire direct-to-consumer playbook is built on that emotional connection.
Exactly. So if the buyer of the future is increasingly a cold, calculating algorithm, an agent that evaluates a product based strictly on JSON data payloads, dimensional specs, and bottom line pricing, without ever seeing your carefully curated lifestyle photography or reading your inspiring founder story.
Okay.
How do brands maintain their pricing power? If your buyer is a cold algorithm that doesn't care about your brand's quirky tone of voice, how will brands differentiate themselves in a completely machine-mediated marketplace?
That is heavy.
Hmm.
We've gone from walking the physical aisles of a department store to clicking through the digital aisles of a website. And now we're apparently just handing our credit cards to algorithms and hoping our favorite brands have their schema markup configured correctly.
It's a massive evolution.
It really is, and clearly one that rewards the merchants who understand the underlying mechanics. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the consensus, stay curious about the shifting infrastructure, and we will catch you next time.